It was Emsa's 28th birthday, and she walked into her in-laws' living room with hope in her heart. She didn't expect anything fancy, just a little kindness. Mama Kemi, her mother-in-law, handed her a small shoebox with a fake smile. Emsa opened it slowly, and what she saw broke her inside. Inside the box were old, used shoes with dirty soles and scratches all over. The shoes looked like they had been worn for years. Her hands trembled as she held them, but she managed to smile so no one would see her pain. She glanced around the room and saw something that hurt even more. Her sister-in-law was laughing happily, wearing a shiny gold necklace Mama Kemi just gave her. On the other side, her brother-in-law's wife opened a gift bag and pulled out a brand new designer handbag. Everyone clapped and praised Mama Kemi for her generosity, but no one noticed Emsa's eyes, which were quietly filling with tears. She sat down, holding the box tightly on her lap, pretending to admire the shoes. Inside, her heart was breaking. It wasn't just about the gift, it was the message behind it. The used shoes said, "You are not special, you are not one of us." Emsa had tried so hard to be part of the family, to be kind, to be respectful, but this gift reminded her of all the silent ways she had been pushed aside. That day, while others laughed and celebrated, Emsa smiled through pain, wondering how love could be so cold. That moment, with that shoebox, opened her eyes to the truth. This wasn't just a birthday insult. It was a clear sign of the deep disrespect she had been living with all along. This birthday insult wasn't the first time Emsa had been treated badly. It had been happening slowly, in small ways that built up over time, ways that were easy to miss if you weren't paying attention. But Emsa noticed every single one. At family dinners, she was always the last person to be served. Everyone else would already have their plates full, and she'd still be waiting, pretending it didn't bother her. Sometimes, they even acted like they forgot to serve her at all, until someone remembered and gave her the smallest portion left. No one said it out loud, but the message was clear. She was not important. When Emsa cooked meals, she put in all her heart. She wanted to impress her in-laws, show them love through her food. But no matter how hard she tried, Mama Kemi would always find something wrong. "Too salty," she'd say, or "This doesn't taste like how we make it in our family." Even if others were enjoying the food, Mama Kemi's voice would cut through the room, turning a happy moment into one filled with shame. Emsa would nod quietly, take the plate away, and go back to the kitchen with tears in her eyes that no one saw. Her clothes were another target. Emsa loved dressing simply, with clean, neat outfits. But every time she walked into a family gathering, someone would comment, "You're wearing that," or "Next time, tell me, I would have helped you choose something better." They said it with fake smiles, pretending to joke, but Emsa could feel the sting. It was like they wanted her to feel small, like no matter what she did, she would never be good enough. And through it all, Noah said nothing. He saw what was happening. He heard the rude comments, saw the way his mother and others treated Emsa, but he never spoke up. Sometimes he would squeeze her hand or give her a weak smile like he was sorry, but he never used his voice to defend her. He was stuck in the middle, too afraid to disappoint his mother, even if it meant letting his wife suffer. Emsa loved Noah. She had married him with dreams of building a warm, loving family. But with every dinner, every insult, and every cold stare, her heart started to question if love was enough. She wasn't asking for luxury. All she wanted was respect, kindness, and a little space in the family where she felt seen and valued. But instead, she was shrinking, little by little, trying to hold herself together with silent tears and quiet strength. Every time she walked into that house, she prepared herself for another wound, another comment, another gesture, another reminder that she didn't belong. And the worst part wasn't even the insult. It was the silence that followed them, the way everyone pretended nothing happened, the way Noah held his breath, looked away, and said nothing, as if his silence would make it all disappear. But Emsa remembered everything, every look, every laugh, every word that cut like a knife. And though she didn't speak up then, a fire was slowly growing inside her, a fire made of all the times she was hurt, all the moments she swallowed her pain, all the days she felt invisible in a house she tried so hard to call home. It was a sunny Saturday afternoon, and the whole family had gathered at Mama Kemi's house. The living room buzzed with laughter, clinking glasses, and conversations. Everyone was dressed up, showing off new clothes and jewelry. Emsa had worn her best dress, simple but elegant, and she carried a soft smile, hoping the day would go smoothly. As they all sat down to eat, the mood was light. Jokes flew across the room, and people cheered to little moments. Then, Mama Kemi stood up to give what she called a special toast. She looked around the room, holding a wine glass, and said loudly, "You know, in this world, some women are born to shine, to wear gold, to be admired, and some are just made for scrubbing floors and washing plates. Nothing more." At first, the room went quiet. Then, a few people chuckled awkwardly. And finally, loud laughter filled the air. Claps, jokes added in, heads shaking, as if it were the funniest thing ever said. MC sat still, frozen in place. Her cheeks burned, and her hands trembled slightly as she held her fork. Everyone knew who that comment was meant for. It wasn't hidden. Mama Kemi had thrown the insult directly at her, in front of everyone, without shame, and not a single person defended her. Noah sat right beside her and did nothing. He didn't stop the laughter. He didn't say, "That's enough." He didn't even look at her. He just stayed quiet. MC blinked back the tears in her eyes. She refused to cry there, in front of them. Instead, she straightened her back, forced a small smile, and continued eating as if nothing had happened. But inside, her heart was breaking. That night, she couldn't hold it in anymore. She called Zion, her best friend, and her voice cracked the moment she said hello. "I don't think they will ever see me as one of them," she whispered. "No matter how much I try, I'll never be enough for them." Zion listened quietly and then said, "You are more than enough, MC. Their blindness doesn't take away your light. You've been quiet for too long. Maybe it's time to stop trying to fit in and start standing tall." MC cried that night, not just because of the words spoken at the gathering, but because of all the other moments she had kept inside. That public insult was the last straw. The pain had built up too much. And even though she didn't say anything back that day, something inside her had changed. Something had finally broken free. After that painful night, MC stayed quiet for a while. She stopped going to family gatherings. She barely spoke at home. The fire inside her felt dim, like it was dying slowly. But Zion, her best friend, didn't let go. One evening, she came over with old photo albums and memories from their childhood. As they flipped through the pictures, Zion pointed at one black and white photo. It was MC's grandmother, smiling with pride, wearing handmade jewelry that sparkled under the sun. "Do you remember?" Zion asked softly. "Your grandmother's hands were always busy creating magic. She didn't wait for anyone to give her gold. She made her own." MC stared at the photo, her eyes filling with emotion. Her grandmother had been more than just a kind woman. She was a legend in their village, a talented jewelry maker who turned simple beads and stones into beautiful works of art. People used to travel just to buy her creations. She had left behind a small wooden box of tools and some leftover beads when she passed. MC hadn't touched it in years. The next morning, something shifted inside her. She found the box in her storage and opened it slowly. The smell of old wood and metal filled the room. Her hands shook as she picked up a pair of pliers and a dusty string of beads. She didn't have a clear idea yet, but her heart felt alive for the first time in weeks. She sat down and started creating. At first, it was rough. Her fingers weren't used to the tools, but piece by piece, she found rhythm in the work. She poured all her sadness, her pain, her silent tears into each bead she threaded. Every necklace, every bracelet, every earring had meaning. One piece told the story of being served last at dinner. Another whispered the hurt of fake smiles. Another one sparkled with the hope she was trying to feel again. Zion encouraged her, posting pictures of MZ's work online. And to their surprise, people started noticing. Strangers messaged, asking where they could buy the beautiful designs. Some even shared their own painful stories, saying how much the jewelry spoke to them. MC named her little brand Essence of Emsa. It wasn't just jewelry. It was her heart, her past, her strength, all woven into art. She realized that she didn't need anyone's approval. She had something powerful inside her all along, passed down from her grandmother's hands to hers. And with each piece she created, MC began to heal. She wasn't just the quiet daughter-in-law anymore. She was an artist, a woman rediscovering herself, and her story was just beginning. Emsa never imagined that something she started out of pain would turn into something so powerful. At first, she just made jewelry in the quiet of her home, sitting by the window with her tools and beads. It helped her think, helped her breathe. Zion had been taking pictures of her work and posting them on social media, adding short messages about how each piece told a story. They didn't expect much, just wanted to share beauty and maybe inspire someone. But then, the messages started coming in. Strangers commented things like, "This feels like my story," and "I've never seen jewelry that makes me feel strong." Some people cried as they shared how the pieces reminded them of their struggle, failed relationships, heartbreak, being overlooked, being hurt by family. They felt seen, they felt heard, and they wanted more. Soon, EMSA was receiving orders from all over Nairobi and even other towns. Women wanted to wear her pieces because they didn't just look pretty, they felt powerful. Each necklace, each bracelet carried meaning. Some were designed with small scars hidden in the beads to represent healing. Others had bold colors to show courage. EMSA worked day and night, pouring her heart into every order. She decided to give her brand a name, EMSA's essence. It meant her spirit, her truth, her voice. She created a logo and wrote a short message with every package. "This is more than jewelry. This is your reminder that you are worthy." People started tagging her online, posting pictures of themselves wearing her designs with pride. One woman wrote, "I wore this necklace to my court case, and I felt brave." Another said, "After my divorce, this bracelet made me feel whole again." EMSA read every message with tears in her eyes. She had once felt invisible. Now she was helping others feel seen. Even women who had never met her felt connected to her. They would message her just to say thank you, to tell her their stories, to say, "You helped me remember who I am." The love and support gave EMSA confidence. She stopped shrinking herself. She walked taller, smiled more. Even at family events, she no longer sat in silence. She knew who she was now. Not just Noah's wife, not just Mama Kemi's daughter-in-law. She was EMSA, the woman behind the movement. Zion helped her set up a small studio in the back of her house. It wasn't fancy, but it was hers. The walls were filled with pictures of her grandmother, notes from customers, and sketches of new designs. Every day, women would visit to pick up their orders, some staying just to talk and cry and heal. EMSA's essence had become more than a brand. It was a safe space, a place of healing, a community. What started as a way to cope became a way to empower. EMSA realized that sometimes the most beautiful things are born from the most painful moments. And now her light was shining so brightly, others were finding their way too. As EMSA's jewelry brand continued to grow, something surprising began to happen. The same people who used to ignore her or look down on her started to notice her. Women in the community began talking about her work with excitement. They shared pictures of her pieces on their phones, at salons, in church groups, and even at the market. "Have you seen this?" one woman would ask. "It's made by that girl, EMSA. Her designs are so powerful." They didn't know, or maybe they had forgotten, how they once laughed when Mama Kemi insulted her in public. Even Mama Kemi's own friends started praising EMSA. They would visit her and say things like, "Your daughter-in-law is doing well. Oh, her work is even in magazines now." They admired her jewelry, calling it elegant, special, and full of meaning. Mama Kemi would smile politely, hiding her shock and maybe even a bit of shame. She had never expected the same girl she mocked to become someone others now respected. Noah began to see all of this too. He watched how people treated EMSA differently now. They greeted her with respect. They called her Madam, and young girls looked up to her. He noticed how she stood taller, more confident. She was no longer just the quiet woman in the corner during family gatherings. She was now a woman of strength, with a voice, with purpose. For the first time, Noah truly looked at her, really looked. He saw how much she had endured, how much she had grown, and how she had never let the pain break her. He felt both proud and guilty. Proud because she was his wife, guilty because he hadn't stood by her when she needed him the most. All those times she was insulted, all those times she cried in silence, he had stayed quiet. And now, seeing the world finally recognize her worth, he realized how wrong he had been. One evening, he sat with her quietly, watching her work in her studio. She was smiling, focused, and peaceful. He whispered, "I'm sorry I didn't see you before. I'm proud of you." EMSA looked at him with gentle eyes, but didn't say anything. She just nodded and continued with her work. She wasn't waiting for his apology. She'd already found her peace, her power, and her voice. The shift had happened. The woman they once ignored had become the woman everyone admired, and it wasn't because she shouted or fought back. It was because she chose to rise, to grow, and to shine in her own quiet, powerful way. One quiet afternoon, Emsa did something unexpected. She invited Mama Kemi over for tea. It wasn't a big gathering or a special event, just the two of them. Mama Kemi came, curious but unsure of what to expect. She noticed how peaceful Emsa's home felt. There was a warmth in the air, not just from the tea, but from the calm strength that now lived in Emsa's eyes. They sat across from each other. For a few moments, there was silence. Then Emsa stood up and brought out a small, beautifully wrapped box. She placed it gently in front of Mama Kemi and said, "I made this for you." Mama Kemi slowly opened the box. Inside was a handmade necklace, crafted with elegant stones and gold accents. It was beautiful, delicate, yet bold. But it wasn't just the necklace that caught her off guard. It was what Emsi said next. "This necklace is made from the strength you tried to take from me," Emsi said, her voice calm but firm. "Each piece of it represents the moments I was insulted, laughed at, and made to feel small. But instead of breaking, I turned all that pain into something beautiful, something that reminds me I'm worthy and I'm enough." Mama Kemi looked at the necklace again, then back at Emse. She didn't speak at first. For the first time in a long time, she had no words. The weight of her past actions started to settle on her shoulders. All those jokes, those public insults, those times she had made Emsa feel less than others. It all came back, clearer than ever. She realized that while she had tried to break Emsi's spirit, Emsi had used that same pain to rise even higher. It wasn't anger that filled Emsi's words. It was clarity. It was healing. And that hurt more than any shouting ever could. Mama Kemi finally spoke, her voice softer than usual. "I didn't know you carried all that pain. I didn't realize what I was doing." MC looked at her and said, "Maybe you didn't, but I did, and I learned from it. I'm not angry anymore. I just wanted you to know that I found my strength in spite of everything." There were no big tears, no dramatic scenes, just quiet truth between two women who had shared years under the same roof, but lived in very different worlds. Mama Kemi held the necklace in her hand for a long time. She didn't say much after that, but something in her had shifted. She saw Emsa not as the quiet daughter-in-law to push around, but as a woman who had turned wounds into wisdom. As she left, Mama Kemi turned back one last time and said, "Thank you for this." It wasn't a full apology, but it was a start. And for Emsi, that was enough. She had finally spoken her truth, not with anger, but with strength. And in that moment, she found the closure she never thought she'd get. The sun was shining brightly the day of the big community event. Families had gathered under colourful canopies, with music playing, children laughing, and people chatting happily. Emsi had been invited to showcase her jewellery, and her store was full of beautiful handmade pieces. Her brand, Emsi's Essence, had grown so much, and many women came to admire her work. Everyone was excited, but Emsi had no idea what surprise the day would bring. As the event went on, someone tapped the microphone on the main stage. It was Mama Kemi. The crowd quieted down, surprised to see her standing there. She was known for being proud and firm, not someone who showed emotion easily. But that day, something was different. She looked at the crowd, then at Emse, who stood by her table watching curiously. Mama Kemi took a deep breath. Her voice trembled slightly as she began to speak. "I want to say something important today," she said. "It's about someone very special. My daughter-in-law, Emse." People turned to look at Emse, who stood frozen, unsure of what was happening. "For years I judged her unfairly," Mama Kemi continued. "I said hurtful things. I compared her to others. I made her feel small when she was already shining so brightly. But I was wrong." There were gasps in the crowd. No one had ever heard Mama Kemi speak like this. She is talented, she is strong, and everything she has built, she did with her own hands and heart. Today, I want to say, in front of everyone, I am truly sorry. Emsi's eyes filled with tears. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. All the pain she had carried for so long was being met with words she never expected. Mama Kemi stepped down from the stage and walked toward Emse. The crowd parted, watching in silence. She reached Emse and gently held her hands. "I'm proud of you," she said softly, "and I hope we can start again." It was a powerful moment. The crowd began to clap, slowly at first, then louder. Some people even wiped away tears. MC didn't speak right away. Her heart was full. This wasn't just an apology. It was healing. It was the beginning of something new. She nodded, hugged Mama Kemi, and whispered, "Thank you." From that day, things changed. Their relationship grew, not perfect, but better. Mama Kemi began to show real support. She started sharing Emsa's business with others, telling people how talented her daughter-in-law was. And for Emsa, that public moment of apology wasn't just about forgiveness. It was a reminder that her voice, her strength, and her story mattered, and that even the hardest hearts can change when faced with true growth. After finding her own strength, Emsa felt a deep need to help other women too. She remembered how lost and broken she once felt, how she cried silently after being insulted, and how hard it was to rebuild herself. Now that she had grown and found success, she didn't want to keep that light to herself. So, she decided to start something new, workshops for young women who needed a push, just like she once did. She opened the doors of a small but cozy studio, where she began teaching jewelry making. But it was more than just learning how to make necklaces and bracelets. MC shared her full story, the insults, the disrespect, the tears, the turning point, and how she turned pain into power. She told them how each bead she placed and each wire she bent held her strength and her dreams. Her voice was soft, but every word carried hope. At first, a few girls joined the workshop, shy and unsure. Some were dealing with family problems, heartbreak, or self-doubt. But as they listened to MC, something in their eyes changed. They realized they weren't alone. They saw someone who had walked through fire and came out stronger, and slowly, they started to believe in themselves again. Soon, the workshop grew. More young women came. Some brought their friends. Others came from nearby towns. They didn't just learn how to create jewelry. They learned how to tell their stories through their hands. They laughed together, cried together, and celebrated small victories. MC mentored each one with care, giving them the same encouragement she once wished for. People began to talk about MC not just as a successful businesswoman, but as a mentor, a sister, and a light for others. Her brand became more than just a business. It became a movement. Her students started selling their own handmade pieces too. Some even opened their own small businesses, and they always gave credit to the woman who believed in them when they were still unsure of their worth. MC's workshops didn't just teach skills, they created confidence. Her story reminded every girl who walked through her doors that their past did not define them. They could rise, just like she did. And through it all, Emsa watched proudly, knowing that by lifting others, she was building a legacy that would last longer than gold. Emsa's life had completely changed. She was no longer the quiet daughter-in-law who sat at the corner of the room, ignored and disrespected. She had become a strong, confident woman who was now admired and respected by many. Her journey wasn't easy, but every tear, every insult, and every moment of pain had shaped her into someone powerful. She used to believe that love and respect had to be earned by staying quiet and being humble, even when people hurt her. But now, she understood something much deeper. True respect comes from knowing your worth and not letting anyone take that away from you. MC didn't just build a business. She built a new life, one where her voice mattered and her dreams were valid. The biggest gift MC received wasn't gold or jewelry. It was the gift of self-worth. She finally saw her value, not through the eyes of Mama Kimi or anyone else, but through her own. And that changed everything. She stopped waiting for others to appreciate her. She started appreciating herself. And because of that, she could now help others see their worth too. Through her workshops, her story, and her kindness, MC gave hope to women who had once felt invisible. She taught them that no matter how people treat you, you have the power to rise and shine. Her journey turned into a light that others could follow. In the end, Emsa didn't just become successful. She became a symbol, a woman who took pain and turned it into purpose. A woman who showed that the greatest treasure isn't something you can hold in your hands. It's something you find inside your heart. Self-worth, strength, and the power to lift others up, just like she did. That was the real gift.